Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked down the long hallway of the USS Endeavour. His toolbox felt heavier than usual today, and the red warning lights on his tablet kept blinking with urgent repair requests. Being the ship's main maintenance engineer meant he never got a break, especially not today when they had alien visitors aboard for the first time in human history. The Zalani delegation had arrived 3 hours ago, and everything had to be perfect. Captain Lisa Hayes had made that very clear to everyone on the ship. These aliens were different from anything humans had ever imagined. They looked like walking crystals with smooth, translucent skin that seemed to glow from the inside. Their leader was some kind of princess, and the whole crew was walking on eggshells trying not to mess up first contact. Jake checked his tablet again. The environmental system in guest quarters 7 was acting up and needed immediate attention. The atmospheric processor was giving strange readings, and the temperature controls were all wrong. He could not let the alien princess stay in a room with broken life support. That would be the worst first impression possible. He reached the door to quarters 7 and pressed his hand against the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Jake stepped inside, expecting to find an empty room. The lights were dimmed, and everything seemed quiet. He pulled out his scanner and started looking for the faulty atmospheric unit behind the wall panels. That was when he heard a soft sound from the sleeping area. Jake froze. Someone was supposed to tell him if the quarters were occupied. He started to back toward the door, but then heard what sounded like someone in distress. His protective instincts kicked in, and he moved toward the sound instead of leaving. Jake turned the corner and stopped dead in his tracks. Princess Lyrith was there, but she looked completely different from when she had walked onto the ship earlier. Her normally solid crystal-like skin was transparent and seemed to be peeling away in large sheets. She was curled up on the sleeping platform, and her whole body was trembling. When she saw him, her large golden eyes went wide with what could only be shock and horror. She tried to cover herself with her arms, but there was nowhere to hide. Her skin was half gone, revealing what looked like a softer, more vulnerable layer underneath. Jake had never seen anything like it. She looked scared and embarrassed and completely helpless. For a moment, neither of them moved or spoke. Jake's first instinct was to help. He could see she was in some kind of distress, and every human instinct told him to do something. But he also realized he was probably seeing something he was not supposed to see. The way she was looking at him made it clear this was a very private moment. "I'm sorry," Jake said, taking a step back. "I didn't know anyone was here. I came to fix the environmental system." Princess Lyrith made a sound that was part gasp and part something else Jake could not identify. She was shaking harder now, and her transparent skin seemed to pulse with different colors. Jake realized she might be having some kind of medical emergency. "Are you okay?" he asked, forgetting all about diplomatic protocol. "Do you need help? Should I call the medical team?" The princess stared at him for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different from before, softer and more musical. "You should not be here," she said. "No one should see this. It is forbidden." Jake felt his heart racing. He had clearly walked into something he did not understand. But the princess looked so vulnerable and scared that he could not just walk away. "I'm really sorry," he said again. "I had no idea. The work order said the room was empty." She was quiet for a moment, studying his face. Jake noticed that despite her obvious distress, she did not seem angry. More like confused and maybe a little curious. "You are the maintenance human," she said finally. "Jake Morrison." He was surprised she knew his name. "Yes, that's me. Look, I can leave right now and pretend this never happened. I won't tell anyone about whatever this is." Princess Lyrith made that strange sound again. "It is too late for that," she said quietly. "You have seen me during the changing. This creates complications." Jake did not like the sound of that. What kind of complications? Before she could answer, her whole body seemed to shudder and more of her outer skin peeled away. She curled up tighter, and Jake could see she was in pain. Without thinking, he moved closer. "Don't," she said quickly. "Do not come closer. This makes it worse." "Makes what worse?" Jake asked. He was getting more worried by the minute. "Please let me help you, or at least call someone who can." "There is no help for this," Princess Lyrith said. "It is natural. All Zalani must change their skin every cycle, but it is private. Sacred. No one is allowed to witness it except family or... She trailed off. Or what? She looked at him with those golden eyes, and Jake felt something strange pass between them, like a electric current but gentler. Or a bonded mate, she finished quietly. Jake felt his stomach drop. I don't understand what that means. It means, Princess Lyrith said, her voice getting stronger, that by seeing me like this, you have become bound to me by the oldest laws of my people, and I to you. The implications of her words hit Jake like a hammer. He had somehow gotten himself tied up in alien customs he knew nothing about. This was exactly the kind of diplomatic disaster Captain Hayes had warned everyone to avoid. Can we undo it? He asked hopefully. Princess Lyrith was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, there was something different in her voice, something that sounded almost like wonder. I do not know, she said. This has never happened before. A Zilani has never been seen by someone from another species during the changing. The laws do not account for this. Jake sat down heavily on a nearby chair. His simple repair job had just become the most complicated situation in human history. He looked at the princess, who was still trembling and shedding her crystal skin, and felt that strange protective feeling growing stronger. What happens now? He asked. Princess Lyrith met his eyes, and Jake felt that electric current again, stronger this time. Now we must figure out what it means when a human becomes bonded to Zilani royalty, she said, and whether our species can survive the consequences. Jake realized his life had just changed forever. The atmospheric processor was still broken, his tablet was still blinking with urgent repairs, and somewhere on the ship Captain Hayes was expecting a routine maintenance report. Instead, he was sitting in alien quarters, bound by laws he did not understand to a princess from another world. He looked at Princess Lyrith, who was watching him with those golden eyes, and made a decision that would change everything. Then I guess we better figure it out together, he said. The princess smiled for the first time since he had walked in, and Jake felt that strange connection between them grow even stronger. Captain Lisa Hayes stared at the report on her desk and felt a headache building behind her eyes. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Jake Morrison sat across from her, looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Ambassador. Richard Cole paced back and forth behind him, muttering under his breath about career-ending disasters. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Captain Hayes said slowly. You walked into the alien princess's room while she was having some kind of biological process that's considered sacred to her people. Jake nodded miserably. The work order said the room was empty. I was just trying to fix the environmental system. And now you're somehow married to her according to alien law. Bonded, Jake corrected. She said bonded. I don't think it's the same as married. Ambassador Cole stopped pacing and turned to face them. It doesn't matter what we call it. The Zilani delegation is in chaos. Half of them want your head, and the other half are arguing about ancient laws that apparently no one has ever had to use before. Dr. Helen Park looked up from her tablet where she had been frantically researching everything they knew about Zilani biology. The princess was molting, she said. It's like when snakes shed their skin, but much more complex. For Zilani, it's a vulnerable time when their new skin is forming. Being seen during this process creates a powerful biological and emotional bond. How powerful? Captain Hayes asked. We don't know yet, Dr. Park admitted. But from what the princess has told us, Jake can now sense her emotional state and physical condition. She's experiencing something similar with him. Jake shifted uncomfortably in his chair. It was true. Ever since he had left the princess's quarters, he had been feeling things that were not his own emotions. Worry, confusion, and something that felt like protectiveness, but from her toward him. It was the strangest thing he had ever experienced. The Zilani High Counselor is demanding we hand Jake over for execution, Ambassador Cole said. Apparently, violating someone during their molting cycle is considered one of the worst crimes in their society. But Princess Lyrith is refusing to allow it, Captain Hayes said, checking her notes. She says Jake is now under her protection and cannot be harmed. That's right, Jake said. She explained it to me after her changing was finished. The bond works both ways. I'm supposed to protect her with my life, and she's honor-bound to protect me. It's some kind of ancient survival mechanism from when her people were more primitive. Dr. Park leaned forward. It makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. If someone sees you at your most vulnerable moment and doesn't attack, they've proven they can be trusted. The bond ensures mutual survival. The problem is, Ambassador Cole said, this has never happened between different species before. The Zilani don't know how to handle it any more than we do. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to the captain's ready room. Come in, Captain Hayes called. Princess Lyrith walked in, and Jake felt his heart rate increase. Not because of attraction, but because he could sense her nervousness through their strange connection. Her skin was now completely solid again, a beautiful translucent crystal that caught the light in fascinating ways. She looked regal and composed, but Jake could feel the uncertainty underneath. Captain Hayes, the princess said formally, I request permission to speak with Jake Morrison privately. I'm not sure that's a good idea right now, Ambassador Cole said quickly. The situation is delicate enough without— With respect, Ambassador, Princess Lyrith interrupted. Jake Morrison is my bonded protector according to the laws of my people. This gives him certain rights and me certain responsibilities. I must speak with him. Captain Hayes looked between Jake and the princess. She could see something passing between them, some kind of communication that went beyond words. 5 minutes, she said finally. But Dr. Park stays to monitor the situation. Ambassador Cole looked like he wanted to argue, but nodded reluctantly. He and Captain Hayes left the room, leaving Jake alone with Princess Lyrith and Dr. Park, who was trying to make herself invisible in the corner. Princess Lyrith sat down across from Jake and studied his face. You are feeling my emotions, she said. It was not a question. Yes, Jake admitted. It's weird. I can tell you're nervous, but trying not to show it. And I can feel your protective instincts toward me growing stronger, she said, even though you barely know me. Jake realized she was right. Every time he looked at her, he felt an overwhelming urge to make sure she was safe. It was not romantic exactly, more like how he imagined a bodyguard would feel about their charge. But deeper somehow. Is this permanent? He asked. Princess Lyrith was quiet for a moment. I do not know, she said honestly. There are no records of anyone bonding with a different species. The elders are consulting the oldest texts, but they may not have answers. Your people want me dead, Jake said bluntly. Some of them do, she agreed. They believe you have violated me and dishonored our people. But others think this might be a sign of something important, a new kind of alliance between our species. Dr. Park cleared her throat softly. If I may ask, Your Highness, what exactly does Jake feel like to you through this bond? Princess Lyrith turned to look at her. He feels steady, she said after a moment. Like bedrock. Humans have such chaotic emotions compared to Zilani, but underneath all that chaos, Jake has something solid and reliable. It's comforting. Jake felt heat rise in his cheeks. You feel like music to me, he said without thinking, like a song that's just out of reach but beautiful. They stared at each other for a moment, and Jake felt that electric current between them again, stronger than before. The bond is deepening, Princess Lyrith said quietly. I can feel it happening. Is that good or bad? I do not know that either. Dr. Park was taking notes rapidly. This is fascinating from a biological standpoint, she said. You're essentially developing a telepathic connection across species barriers. The implications are staggering. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Captain Hayes' voice came over the intercom. All hands to battle stations. We have unknown ships approaching at high speed. Jake jumped to his feet and immediately felt Princess Lyrith's spike of fear through their connection. Without thinking, he moved closer to her. It's okay, he said automatically. I won't let anything happen to you. Princess Lyrith looked at him with surprise. You just promised to protect me without even thinking about it. Yeah, Jake realized. I did. The bond is affecting your behavior, she said. Just as it's affecting mine. I want to stay close to you even though logic says I should return to my quarters. Dr. Park was staring at them both. You're both changing, she said with excitement and concern. The bond isn't just connecting you, it's making you more like each other. Jake, you're becoming more protective and intuitive. Your Highness, you're becoming more adaptable and emotionally reactive. The ship shook as weapons fire struck the shields. Through their connection, Jake felt Princess Lyreth's determination rising to match his own. "We need to get to the bridge," Jake said. "Agreed," Princess Lyreth said, standing gracefully. "If we are bonded, then we face this threat together." As they left the ready room, Jake realized that whatever was happening to them, there was no going back now. The bond between them was changing them both, and he was not sure if that was the best thing that had ever happened to him or the most dangerous. Jake Morrison had never been on the bridge during a battle before. As a maintenance engineer, his job was usually to fix things after the fighting was over. But now he stood behind Captain Hayes's command chair, with Princess Lyreth beside him, watching the main screen show 3 massive alien ships approaching fast. "Void Seekers," Princess Lyreth said, her voice tight with fear. Jake felt her terror through their bond, and his own protective instincts flared up immediately. "They are raiders and killers. They must have detected our ships and seen an opportunity to destroy both fleets while we are together." Captain Hayes turned to look at them. "How do they fight?" "With overwhelming force and no mercy," the princess replied. "They attack in groups and try to disable their targets before destroying them completely. They take no prisoners." Jake watched the tactical display, and something clicked in his mind. Maybe it was the bond affecting his thinking, or maybe it was just his natural problem-solving skills, but he could see patterns in the enemy formation that others seemed to be missing. "Captain," he said, stepping forward, "they're assuming we'll fight like Zalani ships do, precise, coordinated, defensive." Captain Hayes raised an eyebrow. "And you think we should do something different?" "I think we should fight like humans," Jake said. Through his bond with Princess Lyreth, he could feel her curiosity and a strange kind of excitement. "We're unpredictable. We improvise. We take crazy risks that shouldn't work but sometimes do." Princess Lyreth moved closer to Jake. "He is right," she said, surprising everyone on the bridge. "Zalani tactics are based on careful planning and perfect execution, but Jake thinks differently. Through our bond, I can feel how his mind works. He sees possibilities that we would never consider." "What are you suggesting?" Commander Alex Rivera asked from the tactical station. Jake looked at the screen again and felt Princess Lyreth's enhanced perception flowing through their connection. He could suddenly see the battle space the way she did, with incredible clarity and detail. At the same time, she was picking up his human instincts for chaos and adaptation. "We split up," Jake said. "The Void Seekers expect us to stay together and protect each other. Instead, we spread out and attack from 3 different angles at once. Use the Endeavor's speed to hit and run, while the Zalani ships provide cover fire." "That's completely against standard defensive protocol, Commander," Rivera said. "Exactly," Princess Lyreth said, and Jake felt her growing excitement through their bond. "It is so against protocol that the Void Seekers will not expect it. They have fought Zalani ships many times. They have never fought humans." Captain Hayes studied the tactical display. "It's risky." "Everything worth doing is risky," Jake said, and immediately felt Princess Lyreth's approval through their connection. She was learning to think like a human, while he was gaining her ability to see patterns and calculate precise outcomes. "The Princess is right," Dr. Park said from her station. "The bond is allowing them to combine human adaptability with Zalani analytical skills. They're thinking in ways neither species could achieve alone." Captain Hayes made her decision. "Do it. Rivera, coordinate with the Zalani fleet. We're going to show these Void Seekers what happens when they mess with a human-Zalani alliance." The next few minutes were chaos. The Endeavor broke formation and accelerated toward the lead Void Seeker ship, while the 2 Zalani vessels moved to flank the enemy formation. Jake felt Princess Lyreth's precise tactical knowledge flowing through their bond, while she experienced his human instincts for creative problem-solving. "Jake," she said quietly, "I can feel what you would do in different situations. Your people have an amazing gift for adaptation. And you're giving me the ability to see all the variables at once," Jake replied. "I've never been able to think this clearly in my life." The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the darkness of space. The Void Seekers had expected the human ship to fall back and support the Zalani vessels. Instead, the Endeavor came straight at them, firing everything it had and then spinning away before they could respond effectively. "It's working, Commander," Rivera reported. "The enemy ships are confused. They're trying to adjust their formation, but we're moving too fast." Princess Lyrith suddenly grabbed Jake's arm. Through their bond, he felt a spike of intuition that was part human instinct and part Zalani analytical ability. "The middle ship," she said urgently. "It's going to try to ram one of my people's vessels. We have to stop it." Jake looked at the tactical display and saw what she meant. The Voidseeker ship was building up speed on a collision course with the nearest Zalani cruiser. It would be a suicide attack, but it would take out the most powerful ship in the Allied fleet. "Captain," Jake called out, "we need to intercept that ship. Now." Captain Hayes trusted him without question. "Rivera, full power to engines. Put us between that Voidseeker and the Zalani ship. We'll never make it in time," the tactical officer said. "Even at maximum speed." Jake felt Princess Lyrith's hand slip into his, and their bond suddenly blazed with shared determination. "Yes, we will," she said firmly, "because we are going to do something no one expects." She turned to Captain Hayes. "Shut down all non-essential systems and put that power into the engines. In my people's ships, we never take such risks because it could cause system failures. But Jake's influence is teaching me that sometimes risks are worth taking." "She's right," Jake added. "Humans push our equipment past safe limits all the time. It's how we survive impossible situations." Captain Hayes grinned. "You heard them, Rivera. Redline everything. Let's show them what human engineering can do." The Endeavor surged forward with more speed than it was designed to handle. Warning alarms blared as systems strained past their limits, but the ship held together. Jake felt Princess Lyrith's amazement through their bond as she experienced human determination and willingness to take desperate chances. They reached the intercept point just as the Voidseeker ship was about to ram the Zalani cruiser. The Endeavor's weapons tore into the enemy vessel's side, crippling its engines and sending it spinning away harmlessly. "Target disabled," Rivera reported with satisfaction. But the victory came with a price. Pushing the engines so hard had damaged several key systems. Jake felt his professional instincts kicking in as damage reports flooded the bridge. "I need to get to engineering," he told Captain Hayes. "We've got cascading failures throughout the ship." Princess Lyrith stepped forward. "I am coming with you." "Your Highness, that's not necessary," Ambassador Cole protested. "You should stay somewhere safe." "Jake is my bonded protector," she said firmly. "Where he goes, I go. Besides, through our connection, I am learning human approaches to problem-solving. I might be able to help." As they headed for the turbo lift, Jake realized something important was happening. The bond between them was not just connecting two individuals. It was creating something entirely new. A bridge between species that combined the best traits of both humans and Zalani. "We're changing everything, aren't we?" he said as the lift doors closed. Princess Lyrith nodded, her golden eyes bright with excitement and determination. "Yes," she said, "and I think that is exactly what both our peoples need." The battle was far from over, but Jake knew they had already won something more important than a military victory. They had proven that humans and Zalani could work together in ways neither species had imagined possible. The engineering section of the USS Endeavor had never seen anything like Princess Lyrith. Her crystalline form moved through the tight spaces between machinery with impossible grace, while Jake worked frantically to repair the damaged systems. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, and the smell of burnt electronics filled the air. "Power coupling 7 is completely fried," Jake called out as he pulled a blackened component from the wall. "We're running on backup power only." Princess Lyrith knelt beside him and examined the damaged part. Through their bond, Jake felt her analytical mind processing the problem in ways his human brain never could. At the same time, she was experiencing his intuitive understanding of how machines worked and why they failed. "This component is similar to what we use in Zalani ships," she said, "but you have modified it to handle much more stress than it was designed for. Very human." "Sometimes you have to push things past their limits," Jake said, reaching for a replacement part. "It's risky, but it gets the job done." Above them, the ship shuddered as another wave of weapons fire struck the shields. The battle was getting worse, and they were running out of time. Jake could feel Princess Lyrath's growing concern through their connection, mixed with something else. Pride. She was proud to be working alongside him instead of hiding in protected quarters like Zalani royalty usually did. "Jake," she said suddenly, "there are more Void Seeker ships coming. I can sense it through the ship's sensors somehow. Your human adaptability is letting me interface with your technology in new ways." Jake looked up from his work. "How many more?" "6 ships," she said with certainty. "They will arrive in approximately 12 minutes. The implications hit Jake immediately. With the Endeavor's systems damaged and both Zalani ships taking heavy fire, they would never survive an attack by 6 fresh enemy vessels. They needed to end this battle quickly. "We need to get back to the bridge," he said, grabbing his toolkit. As they ran through the corridors, Jake felt something changing in their bond. Princess Lyrath's usual calm composure was mixing with his human urgency and determination. She was learning to feel the emotional intensity that drove humans to fight against impossible odds. The bridge was chaos when they arrived. 2 more Void Seeker ships had joined the battle and the Allied fleet was being overwhelmed. Commander Rivera was coordinating defensive maneuvers while Captain Hayes tried to keep the ship together through sheer force of will. "Captain," Jake called out, "we've got incoming reinforcements. 6 more enemy ships in about 10 minutes. Captain Hayes turned to look at him with grim determination. "Then we finish this now, or we don't finish it at all." Princess Lyrath stepped forward. "There is something we can try," she said. "Something that has never been attempted before." "I'm listening," Captain Hayes said. "The bond between Jake and me allows us to share abilities and instincts. What if we could extend that connection? To include others? Link human creativity with Zalani precision on a larger scale?" Dr. Park looked up from her station with excitement. "A temporary psychic network. It's theoretically possible if the bond is strong enough to serve as a bridge." "What would that do?" Commander Rivera asked. Jake felt the answer flowing through his connection with Princess Lyrath. "It would let us coordinate like a single organism," he said. "Every human on this ship would have access to Zalani tactical knowledge. Every Zalani would gain human adaptability." "The risks are enormous," Dr. Park warned. "We don't know what kind of mental strain that would cause." Princess Lyrath moved closer to Jake and took his hand. Their bond flared with shared determination. "We are willing to take that risk," she said. "Our people's survival may depend on it." Captain Hayes looked at them both, and Jake could see her making the hardest decision of her career. "Do it," she said. "Whatever it takes." Princess Lyrath closed her eyes, and Jake felt their bond expanding outward like ripples in a pond. First it touched Dr. Park, who gasped as Zalani analytical abilities flooded her mind. Then Commander Rivera, whose tactical instincts suddenly became razor-sharp. One by one, every person on the bridge became part of the network. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Jake felt dozens of minds linking together, human creativity flowing into Zalani precision, alien knowledge mixing with human intuition. Through the ship's communication system, the network spread to include the entire crew. "This is incredible," Commander Rivera said, his voice filled with wonder. "I can see tactical possibilities I never would have considered before. And I understand human improvisation in ways I never thought possible," came the voice of the Zalani fleet commander over the communication channel. "My ships are ready to try new strategies." The battle that followed was like nothing anyone had ever seen. The human ships moved with Zalani grace and precision, while the alien vessels fought with human unpredictability and daring. The combined fleet flowed through space like a single living entity, anticipating enemy moves and responding with perfect coordination. Jake felt himself becoming part of something larger than any individual. Through the bond network, he was simultaneously helping to pilot ships, coordinate weapons fire, and manage repairs across the entire fleet. Princess Lyrath was beside him, her crystalline skin glowing brighter as she channeled the combined mental energy of hundreds of beings. "Incoming enemy reinforcements," someone reported, but Jake could already sense them through the network. 6 Void Seeker ships dropping out of hyperspace, expecting to find a weakened and scattered fleet. Instead, they found a perfectly coordinated alliance that moved and fought as one mind. The human Zilani ships hit the reinforcements before they could even form up, attacking from angles that should have been impossible to coordinate without long planning. Enemy ships are retreating, Commander Rivera announced with satisfaction. But the victory came at a cost. Jake felt the network starting to strain under the mental load. Princess Lyrith was trembling beside him, her skin flickering between transparent and solid as she fought to maintain the connections. "We have to shut it down," Dr. Park warned. "The mental stress is too much." "Not yet," Princess Lyrith said through gritted teeth. "The remaining Void Seekers are regrouping for one final attack. We need to finish this." Jake felt her determination through their bond and made his own choice. He poured more of his own mental energy into the network, helping her maintain the connections between all the linked minds. The strain was enormous, but he refused to let her carry it alone. The final battle was brief, but intense. The remaining Void Seeker ships came at the Allied fleet in a desperate kamikaze attack, but they were met by perfectly coordinated defensive fire. Human creativity guided Zilani precision to create shooting patterns that destroyed the enemy. Vessels without a single casualty on the Allied side. As the last Void Seeker ship exploded, Princess Lyrith collapsed. Jake caught her as the mental network dissolved, leaving everyone on the bridge gasping and disoriented. He could feel her exhaustion through their bond, mixed with triumph and something that felt like deep contentment. "We did it," she whispered, her golden eyes meeting his. "We showed them what our peoples can accomplish together." Jake helped her to her feet and felt the bond between them settling into something deeper and more permanent than before. They had shared minds with hundreds of people and come through it stronger than ever. "That was just the beginning," he said, looking around at the bridge crew who were all staring at them with a mixture of respect and amazement. Captain Hayes stood up and walked over to them. "What you two just did changed everything," she said. "You proved that humans and Zilani can work together in ways neither species imagined." Through the view screen, Jake could see the Zilani fleet moving into formation alongside the Endeavor. The battle was over, but he knew the real work was just beginning. They had opened a door between two worlds and there was no going back. 3 days had passed since the battle, and Jake Morrison was still getting used to the strange looks from his crewmates. Word had spread quickly through both fleets about what he and Princess Lyrith had accomplished. The temporary mind link had left everyone involved with a new understanding of what cooperation between species could achieve. Jake sat in the medical bay while Dr. Park ran yet another series of tests on him. The bond with Princess Lyrith had stabilized after their shared experience, but it was stronger than ever. He could feel her presence constantly now, like a warm light in the back of his mind. "Your brain patterns are completely different from before," Dr. Park said, studying the readings on her scanner. "The bond has created new neural pathways that shouldn't be possible. You're literally thinking in ways that humans have never thought before." "It doesn't feel different," Jake said. "It feels more like myself than I ever have before." Princess Lyrith entered the medical bay at that moment, moving with the fluid grace that Jake had come to associate with her. Through their bond, he felt her amusement at his comment. "That is because you are becoming who you were always meant to be," she said, settling into the chair beside him. "The bond does not change us. It reveals us." Dr. Park looked between them with scientific fascination. "The princess is right. The bond seems to bring out the best qualities of both species. Jake, you've developed enhanced pattern recognition and emotional intelligence. Your Highness, you've gained human adaptability and intuitive problem-solving skills. Speaking of which," Princess Lyrith said, "my father wishes to speak with us both." Jake felt a spike of nervousness. Emperor Zareth had arrived that morning aboard the Zilani flagship, and his presence had made everyone tense. The ruler of an entire star empire was not someone Jake had ever expected to meet, let alone someone who might hold his life in his hands. They made their way to the main conference room, where Captain Hayes, Ambassador Cole, and several high-ranking Zilani officials were already waiting. Emperor Zareth sat at the head of the table, his crystalline form more